So we've talked about a lot of things, and we're going to move into Pythagorean theorem now, which will be using some of the stuff we've had. And it's the most famous theorem in all of mathematics. In fact, it even shows up in The Wizard of Oz. Seriously, look it up sometime. But the Pythagorean theorem says the sum of the squares of the legs of a right triangle equal the square of the hypotenuse. Okay, so you got to know your parts of a right triangle. The legs are the sides that make up the right angle. The hypotenuse is the side across from the right angle. So we always want to identify where that hypotenuse is, across from the right angle. That's very, very important. Now, this is one way that this how it's actually said, but you probably know the Pythagorean theorem better as just a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, and that's how a lot of people understand the Pythagorean theorem. But that's not really what the Pythagorean theorem says. Okay, A, B, and C, you need to know what they stand for. A and B are the legs of the triangle. C is the hypotenuse. So it still says the square of the sum of the legs equals the square of the hypotenuse. But A, B, and C, I could change those letters. In fact, later in the year, we'll actually look at this formula, which is the same thing with different letters. But because we're using X, Y, and R, it represents something different. So when someone asks you, hey, what's the Pythagorean theorem? And you reply a squared plus b squared equals c squared, make sure you explain to them what A, B, and C are. Okay? How is this used? Well, you've probably seen this some in your algebra classes. When I've got a right triangle, remember this only works for right triangles. When I've got a right triangle and I need to find one side and I have the other two. It's important that we already have two sides. If I don't have two sides, I'm in trouble. I need to use other mathematics. Identify your right angle and your hypotenuse. So X is my hypotenuse. So the legs are 13 and 18. 13 squared plus 18 squared. There's the sum of the square of the legs. Equals the hypotenuse squared. And there we go. We set it up just like that. So 13 squared is 169. 8 squared is 64, and we can add that together. And we get 233 equals x squared. And you learned that that means you need to take the square root of that. Simple as that. Now, if we can break down 233, we will, but 233 does not break down. We're not going to make a decimal equivalent out of this. Okay, you may have done that in your algebra class, but not anymore. We're more advanced than that. So here is, we put inches on the end since they told us inches. Hey, by the way, I don't take off for units, but it's always good to remember, get into practice because you're going to need that for your science classes. Okay? Another example real quick. We take these two, identify your hypotenuse. So in fact, real quickly, identify what measurement is the hypotenuse here. Okay, hopefully you identified 11 to be the hypotenuse, or 11 centimeters, however you want to write it. So that means my legs are 3 and b. Now notice I said the leg is 3, not 3 squared. The leg is squared. The hypotenuse is 11, and I'll square that. So that's 9 and 121. And now I'm going to subtract 9 on both sides. That's going to leave me 8. Let's see, that's going to leave me a 1. I believe that's 118. Double check my arithmetic. I'm doing that in my head. And now we take the square root of that. Now the square root of 118, I'm pretty sure I can break down somehow. So let me grab my calculator real quick. And we'll break down the square root of 18. So when I'm looking at the square root of 18, I'm going to go, let's see, 118. I have a feeling 36 works. Nope. Remember our little trick, we'll divide by 2, so nothing bigger than 59. Let's try 9. Nope. I'm just going to try, oh, I already did that. Maybe 118 is not going to break down. Divided by 7. Okay, so if it doesn't break down, let me make sure I got my math right. 121, whoops, minus 9. Oh, that's my problem. I didn't do my math right. That's 112. Oops. Always try math in your head, check it in your calculator. 112, I think we can break down. Let's try 36 into that. Okay, 112 is 4 and 28. You know what? I think I can do better. 16. There we go. So 16 and 7. So that means my B equals 4 radical 7 centimeters. Okay? Pretty simple. Try the next two problems here. Okay? Give me your answer for C and your answer for B. And go. Okay, so C, again, my hypotenuse is here. So I'm going to set up my problem to be 18 squared plus 15 squared equals C squared. And then I'll calculate that. 18 squared is 324. 15 squared is, is 225. I'll add those together. I get 549 equals C squared. So C is the square root of 549. I wonder if that is a perfect square. No, it's not. So 549, I'll start trying to divide that. Let's try some big numbers. I'll show you what I'm doing here on my screen. 549 divided by, let's see, I tried 36, that didn't work. Let's try 16. Okay, let's try an odd number. 549 divided by 9. 9 and 61, and you know what? I'm pretty sure 61 is not going to do anything else. So C equals square root of 9, square root of 61, so we're looking at 3 square root of 61. And if you put feet, that's great. On the other problem, my hypotenuse is the 20, okay? So I'm going to go, great, B squared plus 13 squared equals 20 squared. So B squared plus 169 equals 400. Make sure I get my arithmetic right this time. So B squared equals 231. B is the square root of 231. And just to try that out, square root, try it one time. No, square root of 231 doesn't work. So let's try some other numbers. 231, I'm going to try odd numbers because it's an odd number. 33. Okay, so 7, 33 tells me 3 and 11. All the factors would be prime, so I'm going to leave it alone. And there you go. So that's Pythagorean theorem. It's very simple. Tomorrow we'll look at a little more to do with this, and we'll go into some bigger problems with Pythagorean theorem and maybe some word problems. All right, have a good night. And let's stop the video now.